All right, let's talk about the 1%. You know, President Obama has made it a sort of cornerstone piece of his second term that he wants income inequality to be a major issue that we're talking about, and he wants to change the rising gap between the rich and the poor. Well, a new study has come out that highlights the growing income inequality in the world and shows that the 85 richest people in the world own as much wealth as, get this, half of the world's population. The study found that the richest 1% had 110 trillion in wealth, which is 65 times the total wealth of the bottom half of the population. The bottom half of the population owned about 1.7 trillion, or about 0.7% of the world's wealth. According to the report, that's the same amount as owned by the 85 richest people. And finally, the richest 1% in the US have received 95% of the wealth created since 2009 after the financial crisis. So obviously this is a perfectly legitimate thing for President Obama to be going after, and it's not just happening in America, it's happening all over, but we're Americans, so let's start with America. Is this a legitimate, can he do this? This to me seems like, this and the NSA seem to be the big things, at least for me. Is this something that he can truly tackle? Because he hasn't really tackled it. He's saying it now, but it's only gotten worse in the last 5 or 6 years.
I think it's just interesting that he would mention it at all, considering what you go up against for having done so. Yeah. Unless you're just playing a card game on us, and then you're not going to do it. And just we hold because you say stuff. We stay in place and pause and don't do anything active, waiting to see if you'll do it instead. Right.
We like good speech here in America.
Yeah, yeah, and he'll say the kind that we'll go, we're angry. No, wait, what? Huh? Okay, well, maybe we don't need to be angry for 15 minutes. Here we wait. So I have no idea. He's going up against the single most powerful and dangerous thing that Earth has ever produced. There's the A-bomb, and there's this group of people. They're the other thing that can wipe out millions of people.
So how angry
They're a weapon of mass destruction.
So how angry should we be at these people? Because I think there's a little bit of a danger of totally demonizing them. I don't have a list of all 85 of them. I'm sure some of them give tons back and do good work and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, well, they need to for tax purposes, I'm
right,
sure.
Basically. A lot of it's in the Cayman Islands, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But can we be, without having the exact list of these people, like how angry can we be at them personally for just doing what the system allows them to do?
I don't think, it depends what their means were in getting there and what they do with it. I think, I mean, we can't hate on those hustlers, you know. If they've earned it, they earned it, you know. And I do think that it's a fairly lofty goal for Obama, especially being in the second term. I don't really know the means he's going to use to try to get to an end result. And also, on top of that, you know, I like that they're planning on inviting some of these people to like basically a forum discussion to try to figure out how to resolve that. I don't know how well that's going to go over. It's like, you know, let's talk about how we can make you less rich.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Well, even right now, all the world's government leaders are meeting in Davos, and it's all the richest people deciding with politicians, how do we keep the system going? And then, you know, people protest, but nothing really changes, right?
When we get mad at a politician, you realize you're shouting at the front desk receptionist, right?
Right.
She'll just tearfully, you know, send the thing ahead, because it's not the people that bought and funded and installed politicians are the ones that are actually controlling all the events, like over there. And they're not all evil. And I think there probably is some wisdom in saying that there's probably a shred, even in your sociopathic little head, of a conscience that's starting to be awakened by just watching the news.
Yeah.
That alone could bother you and give you a sleepless night. And I'd love to see some of them wake up internally. I'd love to see the disillusionati step up and start to go, hey, wait a minute, I'm made of salt water, and I live on the planet that's being destroyed right now.
Yeah. It's part of the problem that it's just never enough, you think, for these people. It's just never enough. I mean, if you own that much wealth, you can literally do anything that a human being can do. But it's sort of like, it just becomes this game, sort of, don't you think?
Yeah,
it's like this just financial game to them.
I mean, I think that some people it's a game, and I think that there's others that they just were kind of like the nerds in school that happen to bank on their creative genius or whatever, you know, and it's just like they give back. I mean, you look at Bill Gates and whatnot, you know, he can never spend all the money he's got, but he gives back as much as he can, I think. And it's just kind of like it keeps coming in, so what am I going to do with it? How does one disperse this wealth equally to do for the better good of humanity?
Right. Look at it this way. If you got rich making a product, you need the customers to have enough money to buy your product.
Yeah.
That's the baseline.
Right.
And then I think it's the extension of royalty. I think what this is the whole point of royalty is not just that I have, It's that you don't have. Or what's the use? If you have just a slightly crappier version of what I have, I'm not really royal. You have to completely not have what I have. I get to do what you can't do. And royalty has just been clever enough to rename itself as oligarchy now.
Yeah.
But I think that they're using the royalty rule. And I think it's woken Earth up to seeing that that is a failed system globally all at once. And so I think that's the upside. And it just looks ugly and horrible right now because we're in the midst of it still being in existence. But if enough people just talk about it,
well, exactly.
That's it.
Right, and that's why it's a beautiful thing that we can do this on YouTube where people all over the world can hear about it. Because certainly even if you're in America, they don't talk about this kind of stuff on CNN. So one of the things we talked about a couple of weeks ago is that is part of the problem also that the 1%, we always talk about the 1% here, the 1%, if you're in America, the 1% is around $250,000. Now that's not obscenely rich by any estimation. So it's part of the problem that we're, yes, of course you're doing well at that, but you could live in New York City and $250,000 doesn't actually get you that far. You know,
No.
It really doesn't.
Tiny little place.
So it's part of the problem that the 1% number has just become, because it's catchy, has caught on, when really we should be talking about the 0.0001% and not the 1%, because it's the people that have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, right? It's not the 250,000.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a huge gap between somebody that's earning just above that 1% at 250 and like Bill Gates or Betancourt from, you know, L'Oreal or whatever. There's that huge gap, yet they're all clumped into this one category. I mean, I think that that's the same as like, you know, lumping you in with somebody in the slum village in India or something. You know what I'm saying? There's just a huge gap. It's hard to.
My economics are pretty close to those people, actually. This is independent news here. I don't know what you think we're doing here, lady.
I don't know.
I mean, you had water in a cup. It wasn't even in a bottle.
I actually was just looking. I was like, well, I did get water in a glass.
Yeah.
I have this jacket that says 99% on it.
Yeah.
And I was at Trader Joe's. And this guy, he's very nicely dressed. And he looked over and he goes, oh, so you're in the 99%? I went, you think you aren't? You think the 1% shops at Trader Joe's?
Right, yeah, exactly. Although Trader Joe's is pretty good. But, all right, so last point on this, and this is basically what you were saying about the receptionist. So this is all about money in politics, and we keep yelling at the politicians, but it's really about all the people that are pulling the strings beyond that. So what can we actually do? Is it really getting money out of politics first? Is that
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
sort of, that's the starting
Critical.
place?
There's not a lot of other things that are more important than that if you want to talk about the politics. Politics representing the people or not representing the people, just representing a few people. And that is the differentiation line between the two. When FDR's day, he would take war profiteers with their fancy leather chair and have feds lift him and chair and march him in front of film cameras out of the building. That's how they used to treat that version of an oligarch back then. In that era, they went, oh, we're never going to permit that to happen again. Start buying your politicians from here on in.
Yeah. So do you think the system can ever change? Can we ever get back to a place where we have brave politicians like that? And we don't even talk about campaign finance anymore or anything like that.
No, but I mean, the thing is, even though they did drastic actions like that, I feel like this type of thing, this economic gap, has been going on for so long, and it's a global epidemic. I don't know how we're going to I don't think all of a sudden we've had this epiphany and been like, we need to start taking action now, and now it's going to be like a resolved thing. I think it's going to be a very long process, if it is even that. I think it's, I want to be hopeful, but I don't know if that's realistic.
Well said. And if you guys want to do a little something about money in politics, check out Wolfpack, which a lot of our young Turks people know about already.